Tim and Brett here from SkillWork. In the video here today, we're going to talk to you about skilled worker shortage in 2020.
Middle and high schools will continue to push college over trade school.
It's really no secret that most middle schools, high schools continue to highly emphasize preparation of their students for traditional four-year university or college education. As a matter of fact, most of them measure their success, get a lot of their funding, get a lot of their accolades based on how many of their students they put into four-year colleges. Meanwhile, they're minimizing emphasis on skilled trades and pushing people towards those sorts of post-secondary educational opportunities. So we see this trend across the culture that success is measured only in if that young person is getting a four-year degree, and we see the statistics are all over the place that many of these young people are going to four-year schools and they spend 4 or 6 years there, getting just tons of debt as they come out of college with degrees that in many cases really don't lead them to any sort of career or job placement. As a matter of fact, Brett, you and I, we both have kids that have gone through college. We've raised our kids, and you know, we're kind of guilty of this in some regards ourselves, because we look at that and say like, well, where are your kids going to school, right? We had a conversation recently.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely true. Like I said, you know, there's a lot of talk about emphasis on trade schools and encouraging kids to consider the trades, you know, versus just immediately a four-year education, and that's true. And there is some positive trend in that direction, but just the reality is the stigma is still, you know, four-year school. Like you said, you know, if I run into somebody that's a senior in high school, you know, I'm in a business that places people into the skilled trade, you know, job workforce, and yet my first tendency is normally to ask a young man or a young woman, you know, so what colleges are you looking at, or what school are you going to?
Yeah, so it's kind of seeped across our culture, and you know, it's counterproductive, and not only I think to, you know, this generation, but also this gap that we're facing across the country. So supply and demand, you know, the economic rule of supply and demand is at play here. So there's a huge demand for skilled trades, and when there's a huge demand for something, there's a premium for that. So there's a great opportunity for people that are entering into these trades, younger workers, replacing some of the aging generation, to come in to not only have job security, but the opportunity to move around, to be selective, and to earn a great living rather than be saddled with debt or perhaps a degree that really is not going to be able to help you achieve some of those lifelong goals you have. So that trend of pushing people towards four-year universities is continuing to grow.
Yep, it is. I mean, like I said, we give it a lot of talk, and I think there are some encouraging things. We're even seeing some high schools that are reintroducing shop class and whatnot. And I think our point is while that is the case, the reality is this is a long process to turn this wheel back to where there's a stronger emphasis and a value and a respect put back on the trades, to where we really start to decrease this shortage and fill this, is just going to take time. So just the reality is as companies, we've got to recognize the levels and the different options that we have to look at as we look to fill these positions.
Yeah, just this morning, as you said that, I was having a breakfast with a good friend of mine. He's got 3 kids. His youngest one is finishing high school, and he worked in the last summer or so building decks and building. He really liked it. He said he really just seemed to gravitate towards that. But his dad was working with his son and getting his prep for ACT and going to college, and I was like, have you considered maybe a trade might be a better fit? And he's like, that's really a great idea. So it's just the idea of there are other options out there maybe to consider.